Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode in the Inner Circle. I have with me a special guest. He has left deep influences in the way I approach fitness and how I prepare myself for performances and just even regular practice. He is the co-founder and owner of 5E Holistic Fitness Studio in Alsur, Bangalore. He is a cricketer who has played at the junior level in Karnataka and has been a strength and conditioning coach for Ranji level team. Welcome to the Inner Circle. Hello, Rahul. Can you describe for our Inner Circle members what are the stages of training an athlete? What age do they typically identify and start training?
So basically there are three stages of training. One would be a basic, beginner stage, then you have intermediate stage, then you have an advanced stage. So beginner would be something like you start off right now. From here up to 2 years we call it beginner stage. From 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 years we call it intermediate, and then you get the advanced stage as such. So people think that just by doing same stuff for 6 years they are advanced. No, they are not. So every stage has its own pros and cons, and as you go into an advanced stage it has to get more and more specific if you want to improve. If you just want to maintain like that, you can go throughout your life, keep doing the same stuff. If you want to improve every bit of it, you have to grow in every stage of it. It can't be the same training that everyone does. And if you're saying when do you start it, normally a sportsman can start at the age of 6, but we prefer that sportsmen not to do the same, like play only one sport, because then their whole body gets into one kind of a motion. It doesn't go into a 360-degree motion. So if you're saying an footballer, he can only play football. He won't be able to use his hands to get his hand and eye coordination. Or if he's saying a cricketer, he can move only in one direction. He won't be able to do much with his legs. So it's very important. As a kid, you've got to play a lot of sport. And then as you go up to that age of 10, 11, 12, you choose one main sport, wherein you mentally also you're stable at that point to focus on one particular sport as such.
So I'm not sure if in Bharatanatyam dance training, for instance, we typically begin anywhere from 5 years of age, and the training has advancements in terms of the kinds of pieces that are performed, but dance per se, we're still doing the same kinds of movements. So learning from sports, do you think that that could in a parallel way lead to issues or problems?
So issues and problems, I wouldn't say, like it'll get too monotonous. One is like if you say a fast bowler in cricket, if at the age of 5 or 6 he'll bowl at a certain pace, but if he has to bowl much faster than that, if he has to get those sharpness in his bowling and stuff like that, so he will have to work towards it. It won't be like he does the same thing then. So even in dance, I'm saying if a particular dancer gets his hand in a particular position at a particular angle at a particular speed, if they have to get it much more sharper, they have to train much harder to it. Like they'll have to do something different than others what they do. It can't be everyone does the same thing. It can't happen.
So Rahul, before we delve into the kinds of things that you just brought up, I want to backtrack a little bit and ask you about what's a good age to start?
Start weight training, or you're talking about start a sport?
Both.
6.
6?
6 is a very good age because neurally they are very much developed to absorb whatever load goes in.
What do you mean neurally they're well developed?
So anything that you train initially is all neural. There's nothing, muscularly in it. Till you hit puberty, it's always your neurally that you're developing all your movements and everything. Second, it's again your bone growth. Bone growth happens when you have an impact over it. So if you're saying in dancing, if the person is able to dance, like if you take a difference between me and you, I've been training from 6, you've been training from 13. So if my bone growth and my bone mineral density would be much higher compared to you.
Okay, so if I started a little
Later, because that is the age wherein the bone mineral density is going to shoot up like crazy, because
And
you're in a growth spurt.
why would I be any better off because my bone mineral density values are higher?
Once your bone mineral density is higher, your repetitive stress, you will be able to take the repetitive stress.
And by
So,
repetitive stress,
I mean to say something like a stress fracture. If you keep hitting a particular joint or a particular bone back to back, back to back, back to back, back to back, there is a chance of it breaking down. And as a woman, your bone mineral density is always low compared to a man. So you'll have to train. You'll have to take care of your nutrition, your training, and everything double than what a man has to do. So it's very important for a woman or a girl to start weight training or doing any kind of a sport at a much younger age.
Okay, and that allows or ensures that the bones stay younger and better protected for any injuries that you might
Yes.
incur from just dancing or playing that particular
Yes.
sport repeatedly.
Repeatedly.
Okay, and you spoke about how development for a large part in the initial stages is neural. And by that, by neural, I know that it has something to do with neurons in the brain. How would, what would the difference be when you have muscular development versus neural? Is that something that as a teacher you would be able to tell, now my student is responding in a different way?
The only way that we can say it's working muscularly over a period of time is when the muscle grows. So if the particular muscle is growing, so if you're saying my leg muscle, it's the same thing no matter how much I'm training. The only way I can get to know is through a scanning. And just by the visual of it, I can say, okay, it's becoming big, it's becoming small. But I won't be able to tell a ratio between if it's muscularly you're developing or it's more fat that you're accumulating. So it is always nice to get a scanning done. There's something called as DEXA scan, wherein your bone mineral density, your fat analysis has been done, your lean tissue has been told to you. So you can always compare, okay, when you started you with this, when you end up, okay, after a year, this is how much you put on muscle, or this is how much your bone mineral densities improved as such.
Okay, so this scan, all of these kinds of things are common in the sports world.
Yes.
That you monitor the body that closely when you're training.
Yes, you have to monitor a body that closely, because I wouldn't know what your bone mineral density is before starting to train you, and I put you under some kind of a load and you break down.
Okay.
So it's very risky from our part of it to take it to train you without any scanning or without any analysis done with it.
This is interesting because I don't think in all my years of dance training anyone has told me to go check my bone mineral density or told me whether, asked me if I have results to show them that I'm improving muscularly. So let's talk about what you brought up, this term repetitive stress and how bones could be at risk if you're not careful. Are other parts of the body also at risk from doing the same sport or dancing or any of these kinds of same repetitive movements?
Yes, so there are two kinds of stress fractures that you can say. One is a immediate stress fracture. So which, like, you fall, you get a fracture, that's called a fracture. So stress fracture is something wherein it is cumulative, it is chronic, it's like over a period of time. You keep doing the same thing, you keep hitting that same bone. Then if you don't have a muscular strength over there to take that much amount of load, the bone will start breaking down. It's like an airline fracture. So which is hard to recover, because if it's just a normal fracture or something like that, you don't do anything towards it, it'll grow back. The bone has the tendency to grow back as such in very 2 weeks, 3 weeks time. But stress fracture, a lot of other stuff. So if I'm saying if my spine is here, one side of my spine is hit, all the muscles on this side go into a spasm. You won't be able to do anything with that. So then you'll have to do a rehab, then it'll take a very longer process. So instead of that, with repetition, there is a certain restriction to it. So when I say restriction, 30 reps, 40 reps, 50 reps, you do that much, you do a quality stuff, you move off. You don't be like, okay, I'll do all the 10,000 to learn it today. It won't happen.
Okay, so here you're talking about how if you are doing shorter number of repetitions or reps, then your chance of injury is that much less compared to a dancer who probably goes in the studio and strikes her legs hundreds of times. That I don't think I've ever monitored how many times I strike my leg
Yes.
in a practice session.